Hey guys, Mitch from the Illusion of Greatness here. Hope you guys are having a great day, morning or night, wherever in the world you may be. So, we recently went to a regionals just a couple of weeks ago, and somehow, unknown to anyone, I managed to come out in first place. It was a bit of a shock, but I'm very happy, and I get this cool mat and an invite to the Nationals, so I will most likely be making my way over there soon. So I'm just going to do a quick little deck tech, explain the intricacies of the deck and why I chose to build it the way I chose it. It is a fairly stock standard list, so you will have seen something along these lines elsewhere. But I just wanted to dig in and explain why I made certain choices in the list. So let's get right into it. Okay, to get into the regalia, we'll start off with the Champion's Lineage. We got this Spirit of Serene Fire. Of course, this is a must include in Luxem Zander, 31 life, plus Glimpsing 6 and getting rid of any cards you don't need. If you are going second, this is just so powerful. Even first, it does hurt sometimes, but you end up making up for it later in the game. Zander level 1, nothing to say there. It's Zander level 1, it's a good card. Death Executor, this is probably one of the best cards in the deck. It just allows you to get back a card from your graveyard along with the extra prep counter, giving you the chance to do Thieving Cut, Plant Explosives, anything twice in a row, and allows you to move your deck around depending on who you're versing. And Zander Blown Steel. Nothing to say here. That's the backbone of the deck. That should reveal at the beginning of each recollection, and the whole deck's built around that combo. Just going to leave these down here because those words keep stealing the focus of the camera. Okay. Quicksilver Grail. I still think Quicksilver Grail over GCR is the best choice. GCR, gets you an extra draw, allows you to get cards up and start doing stuff. But the Quicksilver Grail just allows you to do so much. You can bring out any one of these five cards with it. And it's basically going to be good. Terraforming, I wouldn't really worry about generally. Only if you're afraid of them zephyring it away right before a big turn to allow them to kill you. Viridian Protective Trinket, yes and no. It just depends on the situation. I probably wouldn't put it on Quicksilver Grail, but yeah, it can be. Another Fun Lantern is the main one that you would put under Grail against the Fire deck. It's so good. Sorry for the glare on the cards. Not much we can do about that. Safeguard Amulet, again, you're against Merlin, you're against Rye. Put that under Grail, and they can't disintegrate it. They basically have to use 2 forms of removal on your Regalia in order to get rid of it. Luxem's Map is another one that if you're versing the Merlins or you're versing anyone that you think might have Regalia removal, you put Map under Grail, crack Grail at the end of their turn. You get a map for free for your next turn and no risk. It's just, too good to pass up. Ooh. Okay, last 2. Orb of Regret, Chalice of Blood. These Chalice of Blood, nothing to say there. You get to 20 life. You crack it in response to your Zander trigger, draw 2 cards, do something else, reveal, hopefully gain a ton of life, and you're back down to, I've been back down to 8 life multiple times off of using a Chalice. So yeah, it's just such a good card. And Orb of Regret. This is probably the flex spot in this deck, as well as Viridian Trinket is also another flex spot that I found can be moved around. It just late game allows you to shuffle 3 cards away that you generally don't need, like the Dungeon Guides or the Exercise Curses, and just draw 3 more, hopefully gain some Luxem cards. However, I have made a couple changes to the deck since this competition, and Orb of Regret has become Orb of Hubris, and Viridian Trinket has become Insignia of Quahazi. I just found that there wasn't enough cards that allowed you to put cards into memory without having any loss to a card in your hand. So the Insignia was just something that should have been in from the start, but I tried to play without it, and that was probably a mistake, but I did well, so maybe it wasn't. Who knows? Orb of Hubris. yes, it's a pretty version. Yes, I want to play it. But also, I do think it fits into Zander a lot better than Orb of Regret. Orb of Regret, you're basically putting 3 cards back into your deck, shuffling, and then having a risk of drawing those same 3 cards. Whereas generally late game, you're going to have Floating Memory in your graveyard. There's not much in this deck that uses Floating Memory. Well, nothing actually. So, yeah, you're generally going to have Floating Memory in your graveyard. Orb of Hubris allows you to draw 3, meaning you don't have the risk of drawing the same 3 cards that you're shuffling back. And then once you've got those 3, you can decide which 3 cards you want to shuffle back, just in case you draw something that's worse than everything else in your hand. So yeah, those are the includes now. That's what the Regalia deck looks like at the moment, and All Regret's completely taken out of the deck. Viridian Trinket's been put into the sideboard. Okay, we'll move on to the main deck. Okay, moving into the norm cards of the deck, we have your pretty standard layout. 4 Thieving Cuts, 4 Juggle Knives. This is where I'm a little bit different. I play 4 Vanishing Sights and 3 Resolutes. A lot of people will only play 3 and 3 or 2 and 3. I've seen 4 Vanish and no Resolutes. We have a fairly heavy meta of allies down here, so I just decided that it would be better to run a 7 of Floating Memory. We have 4 Excised Curses and 4 Fast Cure. Just good cards. Crab Shock gets rid of them. There was quite a few Dianas around, so Excised Curses seems like a better choice than a lot of the other ones. I could see an argument for using something like Idle Thoughts if you don't have any Dianas in your meta. But again, it's fast speed Floating Memory. It's just good. Moving in, move these over to the side now. Into the allies, we have 4 Dungeon Guide and 2 Gawain. Dungeon Guide, nothing to be said there. Staple in pretty much every deck that goes to level 3. And Gawain is just a powerhouse. I don't think there's a single matchup which she's not good. She gets rid of a card to upset the balance of a Gildas in a Wind Allies deck, forcing them to have to use their GCRs and stuff early. Gets rid of fireballs and everything else that Merlins want to keep. Gets rid of arcane cards that you don't want going to play opponent's banishment into their graveyard. In a Rye deck, it's just a good card. And then we have our deck Scrying. We have 4 Scry Skies and 2 Serums. Scry Skies is just good. Any point of the game, it feels good. Well, not necessarily on turn 1, but I have been known to have to do that sometimes. Serum of Wisdom. It feels a bit clunky in some situations. I am looking to either go down to 1 of or possibly cut it completely, but at the moment it's still in the deck. One of the changes I have made is that I have actually started putting Gawain in the main, Blanche in the main board as a 2 of, and I've gone down to 3 of Vanish Sights going into the sideboard. Blanches were sideboard and they've now come into main board. Just because we have such a high Merlin player base down in Invercargill that I see it as worthwhile to play main board. Okay, we'll move on to the fire cards. Okay, so for the fire cards, pretty straightforward, simple, not much to talk about. We've got 4 Creative Shocks and 4 Planted Explosives. These are creative as a mainstay in every fire deck basically. There's not many decks that you wouldn't play it in, and Planted is just good. It's 4 damage to face late game. It kills pretty much any ally in the game at the moment. There's not many situations where it's really bad, and also it's another assassin skill that you're able to get back through level 2. Okay, we'll move on to the Luxem cards, which is the final lot of mainboard cards. And we have your pretty standard. There's not much to say about the Luxem cards. If you've seen a Luxem Zander list, you've seen the Luxem list. There's 4 of Lightweaver's Assault, 4 of Luxem Sight, 4 of Excalibur, 4 of Gleaming Cut, and 3 of Uncover Plot. I kind of underestimated Uncover the Plot a little bit. I tempted to try take it up to a 4 of, but at the moment there's just no room. This list does run 62 cards, which I have tried to cut it down to 60, but it just is not much wiggle room to cut. And honestly, I haven't found that 62 cards hurts the deck at all. It actually helps in the long games where you end up almost decking out. Yeah, pretty straightforward. Draw 2, recover 3, 2 damage, destroy Horse, destroy Regalia, destroy the Diana's Guns. It's just good in so many situations. I've used it to destroy an ally that would kill me, allow me to go to my next turn and recover a ton of life, draw a ton of cards, and end up in a good position to win. Yeah, so Uncover the Plot, I did underestimate it. It is very, very good, especially if you Dungeon Guide level 3 and you're left with 3 cards in hand and you have a Gleaming Cut. You can put Gleaming Cut down, Luxem side or whatever else you have in hand left over, put that down, Uncover the Plot, draw 3 cards, and then you're set up with another Luxem card in memory, plus being able to bring out the core Huzzy's Chosen during your next turn, and use that to put the 3 in hand down in memory, and then reveal whatever you've drawn. Okay, we'll move on to the sideboard. So moving on to the sideboard, I have got a little bit of a different sideboard. I originally was playing the water list where you play the 4 Fracturize in the sideboard. However, I found that it just wasn't useful enough in a lot of different matchups. So I went with this lineup here. For the competition, I did expect to see a lot of Fire Melons because we did know the Christchurch guys are coming down, as well as Glenn, the national champion, was down. I did manage to beat him in the 4th or 5th round, which was probably one of the hardest matches I played of the competition. So yeah, played the 2 Blanches, of course. Gawain is another one that you bring in for those type of matchups where you want to really get rid of the good cards in their memory and force them to have to hold up a whole bunch of cards and do nothing for their turn in order to actually have cards during your turn. The 3 Bobbles, not much to say there. Whatever Regalia aren't working in the main deck against a certain deck, you sideboard them out, bring in the corresponding Bobble. Orb Choking Fumes is another one you bring in if, say, you're versing Wind Allies. You don't really need a Safeguard Amulet or a Nullifying Lantern, so you bring in the Orb and a Bobble, and it just means that they're going to have a harder time doing the Gilda's Balance and playing stuff out on their turn, as well as giving you an extra card for that getting rid of the floating memory late game. Caliburn of Silencing. This was kind of a last minute add to the deck. I had 7 cards in sideboard and wasn't sure if I should go up to 2 Gawain sideboard or put a 3rd Blanche in. And I started messing around with this, and we knew of 2 Rye players that were going to the regionals, and I figured if I knew of 2, there'd probably be a couple more at least. So this pretty much shuts down Rye. You bring this out, you attack, you hit him, and it turns off his abilities, so he doesn't get levels for Arcane and Banishment for the rest of his next turn. It just is such a big power swing because it means he can't play out a lot of his cards anymore, and he basically has to take a turn off, giving you time to set up, recover, and be in a good position to kill him. It also is okay against Merlin. You hit it with Merlin with it, it turns their ability off, and they won't get their level counter at the beginning of next turn. But I didn't really use it that much. I think I used it 1 game against Merlin, because generally your sideboard going into Merlin is not as effective. The main board's pretty kitted out against Merlin. Only thing I sided out was the Viridian Trinket, and I generally bought it in for a Fireball to allow me to get that extra draw early and get the card advantage on Merlin, because it was often down to who got to level 3 and got set up first. As I've said, Blanche went into main board at the end for the end of the competition, so we had a store champs the next day, so I'd made a couple of changes on the day, and I actually went up into 2 Gawains in here. Viridian went into sideboard, and that stayed like that. So yeah, that's pretty much the deck and how I ran it. Apologies for the focusing. The camera does not seem to want to focus on foils. Hope you guys have enjoyed. Make sure to leave us like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments anything you guys might do to the deck, because I'm still working on it, and with Mercial Heart coming out next week. I will most likely be making quite a few changes with the new negate card, as well as a couple other colour changes now that the side borders have been enlarged. So I'm looking forward to it. Catch you guys later. Peace.